class. This is Dr. Seibert checking in, talking about our Chapter 9 subjects this week. And Chapter 9 is interesting because it has some good, I feel like, tables to refer to. And the first table I'm going to refer you to, well, it's called a figure, is figure 9.2. And it talks about our historical growth of the U.S. per capita, or our GDP. And it shows us like our growth from the 1900s to pretty much now, and the little dips that have happened during those years. And what's interesting to me is how much it's grown in really maybe 100 years. And a lot of that, I would say, is due to going from agricultural to manufacturing, and now we're at technology. So since we're now at a technological standpoint, it's a little harder to grow fast like we did that first 100 years, or that 100 years, since the 1920s. So when we have advancements in our tech now, that's going to make bigger advancements, and we're going to make more money as far as our GDP. So right now it's probably a little stagnant, particularly with the pandemic, but most likely we'll get back on track, as it always happens. So in this chapter 2, it talks about, I like to see in the back of the chapter, it has an expected growth in world population. And, the United States does not really grow much as in population. And some factors that contribute to that is we make more money now, we're more educated, and usually when countries are going from ag to manufacturing to technological, these are things that happen. Also, we have better environmental controls than probably, some compared to China. And those are, of course, good things. So as we advance and our per capita GDP grows, meaning our individual GDP grows, these things happen in a society, and that's good. So then again, like I said, the United States maybe isn't growing very fast, but we can probably guess what country is, meaning China. China has gone from basically probably in the 70s, 80s, from going agricultural, manufacturing, and of course technological, all within those 40 years, where it took us maybe 100 years or more. So they're on a fast track, and you can tell that as far as their GDP is growing. So we already know that. Other countries that might be not quite like China, but coming up would be India. They have quite a large population and are also trying to go from the agricultural manufacturing to the technological. So it's always surprising to me that countries that are advancing, like, for example, I didn't really realize like Mongolia is a country that's advancing. So I think it also helps, of course, when these countries end up getting some infrastructure. For example, many of the countries in Africa, they have wealth, they have minerals, they have probably oil, but they don't have the infrastructure. And they also, a lot of them are run by, won't say communistic, but somebody that maybe is a king that has control over everything. So it's hard for those countries to really advance because they don't have these things in place. And it's just hard to do that, start from scratch, basically. United States helps a lot of these countries so they can grow their GDP so we can buy their products. But, sometimes those efforts are thwarted depending on, who's in charge of the government, which is sad for, the world, of course, because maybe there's something over in one of the African countries that only they can produce. Maybe we would like it, but we're not going to get it for a long time. So, it could help us and it could help them. So, pandemic has hurt us a lot in growing our GDP, as we talked about last chapter, and our per capita GDP, which is per person, basically. The numbers will come out at the end of September. Probably takes about a month before we know what the GDP was. things are turning around somewhat slowly, but they are turning around. So that's a good point. And so, like I said, in our chapters, we can see these things put in place and understand them better as we're reading. So we're going to also talk about some stagnation in here. And so these are some subjects that are important and timely as they were 100 years ago. So one thing I do want to say is we will have our midterm in a couple of weeks, the 8th week. So we'll be halfway done. And the midterm is made up of 70 multiple choice questions and a 30-point essay. The 30-point essay is, I would like you to pick a subject and write your thoughts or opinions on an economic subject. Usually I would like you to introduce your subject, tell me about it, and then have a conclusion. So I'm pretty tired of the pandemic, as we probably all are. So maybe I'd like to hear about if unemployment is better, or how is our relation with China right now? Are we going to have a, contract with them? Are we still going to have taxes against them, subsidies, that kind of thing? How are the farmers doing? I haven't even heard a thing about farmers. What's happening with the 737 MAX? That was a big thing with with the aircraft. How about travel in general? I mean, I really want to travel, but I guess we can't. Really, we shouldn't. So anyway, just maybe something a little different than, we understand COVID has hurt us and it's a very serious problem, but maybe there's other angles to it that we can talk about. And so anyway, think about this. You have a couple of weeks to think about it before the test. The test will, of course, be online. You can use your books. A lot of it is going to be definitions, and it'll be a test that you can take, start it, stop, and restart. So we'll talk more about it, but have a good week and talk to you later.